I'm either insane or I bent over backwards.
This revocation hearing involves a defendant who is given a major second chance, but instead of using that chance, the court is now looking at misreporting, new trouble, and whether there's any reason to keep trying probation. Watch how the judge responds when the defense asks for one more opportunity. My name is Dan. This is the Courtroom Files, and it looks like Ellie's going to watch along with us.
We're here on 25 CR 1012 and 23 1404 State of Ohio versus Giselle Fuller. On the 25 case, we're here for sentencing on the conviction for having weapon while under disability, a felony 3. And on the 23 case, we're here for a final hearing on a probation violation. The violation is that the defendant failed to report to probation January 7 and January 14th as scheduled. Do you understand that allegation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hibbard, what does he want to do with regard to that allegation?
Your Honor, he will admit to that allegation.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your plea to that violation?
Guilty.
I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. Ms. Hibbard, as to sentencing on both cases?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're prepared to proceed on both cases. Thank you. Your Honor, with regard to the aggravated robbery case, the 23 CR case number, Mr. Fuller was only 17 at the time that he committed that offense. He was placed on probation after he was bound over and convicted. He was provided services through the probation department. When he utilized those services and participated in the opportunities that were given to him, he was doing really well. He had gone to Signature Health. He was on medications for his mental health issues. He was working. He was making decent money. And then he had some family or personal issues that interfered with that employment. And that was sort of the beginning of the downward spiral that Mr. Fuller had. The incident in the 25 case number, the weapons under disability, that was sort of related to some of those family and personal matters that affected his ability to maintain that employment that he had. He has maintained his innocence in that situation, but the court did preside over the trial, convicted him of 1 count of weapons under disability, and is aware of some of the background of that and how he was also victimized during that encounter. His car was shot at, one of his tires was blown out, and ultimately there is another individual being prosecuted for their conduct and their role in that offense. Your Honor, Mr. Fuller, as I mentioned, he was young at the time of the aggravated robbery. He's still young. He's only 21. He was 20 at the time of the weapons under disability case. He did have a driver's license, though, and a job. He is capable of those things given the right circumstances. He did try his best to do what he could to comply with his previous term of probation. Unfortunately, though, when things sort of began to fall apart, he wasn't able to get himself back on track. I did have conversations with him in which he was candid with me about his desire to communicate with his probation officer and to try to handle these matters responsibly. Unfortunately, he just couldn't quite get himself to a place of bringing himself to probation and accepting the consequences. Ultimately, though, Your Honor, he did end up in the Lake County Jail. He got arrested, and we had the trial. Your Honor, since I've known Mr. Fuller, he has been always very polite with me, listens to what I say. I can tell that he wants to do better for himself. There's just something there that he's not quite able to. Your Honor, we are asking that you place him back on probation. He really, really liked his probation officer. She was very, very helpful for him. He took her guidance. I think that she played an important role in a couple years of his life. I am hopeful that you will consider placing him back on probation. However, should you determine that a term of incarceration is appropriate in this matter, we would be asking for a minimum term of incarceration, which on the aggravated robbery case That would be 3 years. I understand he does have a significant amount of jail time credit at this point on that case number.
Well, he didn't like her that much, Kim, because everything you talked about so far, him being 17, as you say, when he committed this ag robbery, and I imagine that's why I put him on probation on April 1st of '24. On July 3rd of '24, he's not showing up to probation. So he didn't like her that much, okay? Or he wasn't overly interested in probation at that point because he wasn't showing up. Because the attempt in putting him on probation for an F1, which I don't think I've ever done before, okay, was to rehabilitate him and give him a bunch of terms that would direct him toward rehabilitation. But he doesn't show up. Now, Kim Randallson is one of the most helpful probation officers I've experienced ever.
I would agree.
Okay? And he was afforded every opportunity but didn't show up July 3rd and July 17th. So what's mystifying to me, two things are mystifying to me as a result of that I kept him on probation, okay? And that he violated again. After more attempts were made for rehabilitation. So the next violation, he's in trouble with Painesville Police again for obstructing official business. Apparently, maybe that case got dismissed, I don't know, but here we go again. So I kept him on probation. Now, an F1, two separate violations, and I keep him there. And then here we go with a weapon. So at some point in this process, Mr. Fuller has to account for Mr. Fuller.
That is
So-
true, Your Honor. And
So
he
go
will-
ahead.
That is true, and he will talk to you about some of the decisions that he made. Your Honor, it took him a bit to get into a positive way of life when on probation, and then he did have those hiccups. He does accept responsibility for that.
Listen. What you call hiccups,
Yes,
okay, I call violations, okay?
Yes.
But maybe I recognize them as hiccups also because I kept him on probation. If I didn't recognize that, I'd have sent him in '24,
yes.
right? In July of '24, or whenever we caught him, okay? So I'm either insane or I bent over backwards with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
I think, Judge, it might be because the court and Ms. Kim recognize, and myself recognize, that he is a sweet kid who is unfortunately surrounded by people and places and things that influence him and cause him to fall off track. I don't think that it's that he wants to willfully disregard the opportunities he's been given and the directions that he's been given by the court.
So there's intentions and there's actions.
Yes.
Right.
And his actions don't reflect somebody who has the right intentions, but he does deep down. And I know.
But he's
it
got
seems-
at what point does he exhibit that, what he wants to do? Okay, because I have more than, my responsibility is not just to Mr. Fuller and others similarly situated. It's to everybody,
Yes.
okay?
And I understand the concern about allowing someone who has an aggravated robbery conviction that occurred with a firearm and then has now been convicted of being in possession of a firearm. I understand the concern about allowing someone like that back into the community. But despite that aggravated robbery conviction, nobody was physically harmed during that incident. And Mr. Fuller hasn't physically harmed anyone. He is not a violent person. He will, unfortunately, be stuck with a violent criminal history his whole life, which will make things harder for him. But he is not a violent person.
Well, it'll make things difficult, but not impossible.
That is definitely true. And hopefully, as he grows up, he understands that despite that criminal history and that past, he still can do positive things. He still can live a productive life, and that can be behind him, and he can do new things, better things. I do think he knows that. I just think he's having a very hard time getting himself motivated to stay on track. That's really what it is. He can get on track, but then he has difficulties. And I am hopeful, though, that, and he's young still, he's young. So I am hopeful that as he grows up, he realizes that if he just continues to do the right thing each and every day, one day at a time, he can get himself to a better place. I'm asking you to give him the opportunity to do that with Ms. Kim's help. I know it's hard because he has been given opportunities and chances and programming, but I'm asking for more. Whatever the probation department can come up with to put him in a better place. Maybe.
No, they're not magicians over there.
I know. Miss Kim is almost a magician. She can think of some things. Maybe some additional classes.
I mean, even if she were a magician, that's only half the battle. The other half is getting them to show up.
Right. The showing up is a problem. He's got to, and he knows that. He absolutely knows that because we talked about it at length earlier this year about, please just call her. I begged him, just pick up the phone and call her. And he just had this mental block of, I don't even know what. I mean, now he's been sitting in jail thinking about it. Hopefully he's able to reflect some on that to the court and let you know what he was thinking. But I do think that he has the ability to be better. It's just he's got to stay on track, stay motivated, stay on his medications, continue going to Signature Health, continue doing the things that put him in a mental place to actually to focus and stay on track and do the right thing. It's when he sort of falls off, he can't get back on, and he needs to learn tools to be able to say, I messed up, but I can overcome that and get back on track. And I don't think, Your Honor, that sending him to prison is going to help him. It will certainly punish him. It will likely deter him in the future.
I could think of maybe a handful of people who went to prison and it helped them. Okay.
Yes.
The prisons are not designed to help people.
Right.
And they make no effort in this prison system to help people. Very little effort, okay? And the only people who come out of prison better than they went in are the ones who help themselves.
Yes. And to that point, Your Honor, I don't believe that Mr. Fuller yet has the ability to help himself. And he's not going to get the tools to help himself in ODRC. Now, unfortunately, also going to ODRC, he's terrified of that because there is some misconception that he cooperated with the state of Ohio and that's how he got out of going to prison the first time, which is false. False. That is not accurate. I think the court would agree, right? That did not happen.
That had No, as far as I know, it did not happen.
Right.
And that certainly didn't go into my equation.
Right.
Because it never happened.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so he is very concerned about that misconception out there that happened. And so, and that's part of the backstory of these family matters that derailed him, last year or late last year when they came to his job to fight him and all that, which is just crazy that it's his own family that would put him in that position. But Your Honor, he won't get those tools in ODRC, but he can get them in the community. He won't be a danger to the community. I know the state's position is different, and maybe the court thinks otherwise as well, but he is not a violent individual, and he is an individual that needs help, and I wish that I was in a better position to say exactly what could keep him on track, but unfortunately I'm not. Remaining on his medications helped in the past. Going to Signature Health helped in the past. He had a valid driver's license. It expired while he was incarcerated in the Lake County Jail a month ago about. When he could get valid again, which would enable him to drive, which would enable him to work, all of those things. And I'm just hopeful that if he were to be given one last chance and put place back in the community, that he would work again, that he would show up, because showing up is the first step and is what he didn't do last time. But showing up would at least keep him in contact with somebody who can help him. And that, I think that communication and that relationship was very helpful for Mr. Fuller in the past. So I'm asking you to place him back onto community control in the aggravated robbery case, and to give him a term of community control sanctions in the weapons under disability case. And however, should you deem a term of incarceration appropriate, we would ask that you impose a minimum term of incarceration, which would be 3 years on the aggravated robbery case, and then a concurrent sentence on the weapons under disability case. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Fuller, you can tell me anything you want. You want to before I impose sentence, but I will. I'm going to. I assume you're going to appeal your conviction on the trial, so you may want to talk to Ms. Hibbert about whether you address that or not at this point, before you talk to me.
You're not talking about the gun case.
All right. Your Honor, I know I messed up again. I know I'm not here to blame anybody for anything I did. I'm not here to point the finger at anybody, because I'm the one who did what I did, and I'm the one who made those wrong decisions. And when I knew that I should have been doing right, but my intentions were to get myself better when I was out there. I was trying to get myself better when I was out there. That was the only thing. That's my only motive, was to do better and do right. And I'm just sick and tired of just like letting my family down. The ones that's right here behind me, the ones who really care about me, the ones who really want to see me do good, because I need them as much as they need me. And I'm not finna keep making other people's problems my problems, and sitting here and blaming everybody for saying that, putting blame on everybody when it was the one I was the one who was in the wrong, and I was the one who messed up. And I just want better for myself, and I've been trying, and I had to realize ever since I've been sitting in jail, I've been realizing like I need to change my ways. And every day I'm in there, spending time in there, it counts. As long as I'm making progress, that's all that matters. I try to make progress every day. I try to change something about myself every day. I pray, I hope that better things for myself. I want better for myself. I don't want to go to prison, but I know I did wrong, and I'm not going. I just know I did wrong. I know I messed up again, Your Honor, and this is not what I want for myself. I really do want better for myself. I'm not a criminal. I don't want to be looked at as a criminal, because I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I'm capable of doing great, and I know I'm capable of great things. And I just want to shake back from all this and put it all behind me, so I can just do right and live my life the right way. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from going to NeoCat, doing all these treatment stuff. I learned a lot, and all that has showed me like what I really want for myself. I had a few bumps when I was going through treatment and stuff, but I had to learn from that. I learned from a lot of those things when I was in treatment. I learned and I grew. And one thing about it is just like I can't trust people who don't have my best interest in life, and I can't keep making, like I said before, making other people's problems my problem, because I got to do what's best for me, and I have to worry about myself and stay in my lane to make sure I'm good. And that's all I have to say, Your Honor. I really do apologize, because you did give me a chance, and I respect you for it. You gave me a chance when I was nothing but 18 years old. You could have sent me to prison, and I respect that. I respect that out of you, and I just want better for myself. I want better for myself, and I want my family. I want to show my family that I can do better.
Well, then you need to take care of that yourself, because you had your biggest supporter right behind you trying to help you, and you blew that off by not showing up. Mr. Dugan?
Thank you, Your Honor. It is encouraging to hear Mr. Fuller acknowledge that he had done wrong. I think that's a first step for anybody. But he was given, and I also respect you, Your Honor, for giving him that opportunity with initial sentencing on an aggravated robbery. He had potential up to 16 years of prison, but you gave him that opportunity and put him on community control. But right away, he did serve some local time right away, though. He violates community control by not showing up in July of 24. And you give him more local time, and he gets out, and right away he gets arrested in Paynesville for obstructing official business in May 25, and then a couple months later he's arrested again. And this time there's 2 weapons in his car. And the aggravated robbery charge also involved a weapon. And one of the weapons in the car was loaded. And this court does have a very serious obligation to the safety of the community, all the community, all of us, including Lieutenant DeCaro and all the officers that reported on July 1st, not knowing where all those gunshots were coming from. There were gunshots and lots of evidence of use of gun. And the court is very aware of the difficulty, I think, as a society we're having with death and destruction from people who are reckless with firearms. And Mr. Fuller was reckless again with a firearm. And the safety of the community now, having been given an opportunity when he violated his probation in July of 24, November of 24, you sentenced him on that, gave him another opportunity. And immediately upon getting out, he's arrested 2 more times. Then, this past January, he doesn't show up for probation twice, again. It's not like he needed a license to get there. He's in walking distance here from Paynesville. And he doesn't show up for his trial either. So, talk is cheap. But, and we don't know what's in his mind, but he just expressed his mind that he acknowledges his wrongdoing. That's a start. He needs to go to prison now, though, for the safety of all of us. The state is okay with 3 years to 11. Should be a definite prison term for the aggravated robbery, definite prison term of 14 months on the weapons under disability conviction. And my sincere hope is that he will be out soon. He is still young. He has a lot of life to live. I'm impressed with the family that's here to support him. Not everybody has the benefit of that kind of support either, and he recognizes that. Hopefully, he truly, genuinely recognizes that. That's a true asset. And he won't put his family in this kind of position where they're having to come to court again for his wrongdoing. But for the time, he has to be in prison for the safety of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report from this last trial in April. I've also reviewed the pre-sentence report from the 23 case. I've listened to counsel, listened to Mr. Fuller. I've considered all the provisions in 29-29-11, 29-29-12, and 29-29-13. As I stated, Mr. Fuller with regard to the 23 case, based on the facts and circumstances and the degree of offense, and also your age at the time, I think you were given an extraordinary amount of leeway in order to do what you needed to do to turn yourself around. And you did not take advantage of that. And after a couple of violations, you were still kept on and didn't take advantage of that. And then this offense occurs, again with a weapon that was, I know you were charged with 2 counts. I found you guilty of 1 count, and that one weapon had a magazine with a round in the chamber. So you put yourself in a position such that you're sitting here today, letting somebody else determine where you're going to be and for how long that will be. And only you can stop doing that. So on the 23 case, I'm going to find you're no longer amenable to community control. And on that case, I'm going to sentence you to a definite minimum term of 4 years up to an indefinite maximum term of 6 years in prison with credit for 517 days. There's a presumption that you will be released at that 4-year mark. If you're not released, you can request a hearing and with the appropriate authorities to enforce that definite minimum release date. Whether the Department of Rehabilitation keeps you beyond that 4 years is based upon the criteria that they have established. On the 25 case, I'm going to sentence you to 36 months with credit for 150 days. That sentence will be concurrent to the 23 case. When you are released, you will be placed on post-release control for 5 years with conditions. If you violate the conditions, a parole authority could send you back to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If that violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. With regard to the 25 case, you have the right to appeal that conviction and sentence to the 11th District Court of Appeals. You have a right to be represented by counsel. If you cannot afford counsel, counsel will be appointed to represent you. You are entitled to have a copy of the transcript of all hearings in this case. And if you cannot afford that, you would also be provided that transcript or those transcripts free of charge. I'm going to find at this point that you are indigent, so I will appoint Ms. Hibbard to represent you in your appeal in order that you be given transcripts at public expense. Is there anything else, Mr. Dugan?
Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Hibbard?
No, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, did you impose the jail time credit, though, in the 23 case?
I did, 517 17 days.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How long is that?
All right.
You know, I guess that's the problem with asking for one last chance after you've already been given a major chance. At some point, the court starts looking less at potential and more at what the defendant actually did with the opportunity that he had. But I'm curious to know what you think, so take a moment and let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, Ellie and I would appreciate it if you checked out one of the two that are on your screen right now. We thank you so much for watching.